Motivation is a lie. Discipline wins championships, and turkeys are life. Today, I'm joined by outdoor writer, photographer, father, and turkey hunting fanatic Jim Richman to talk about and discuss the challenges of sticking to a workout and, of course, turkeys. Are you ready? Welcome to episode 2 of the Fit to Hunt podcast. Hey, Jim, what's coming up?
Turkey season.
Dude, I cannot wait, man. I am so stoked. It's like 12 degrees right now. I don't care. I'm after a man.
Yeah, already getting all the gear together, and it's coming up quick. Super excited.
How excited are you though after just getting back from NWTF? I mean,
man, I gotta tell you, the NWTF was my first year going, so I gotta kind of preface with that. It was overwhelming, to say the least. But I will say that even when you got past the overwhelm of 72,000 people being down there, or 75,000, however many there was supposed to be, you really started to feel encouraged by how many people are still out there in the outdoor industry, in the outdoor space, fans of hunting, fans of, outdoor activities. I question that a lot in the job that I'm in, but, you go to something like that, it's very, very encouraging. And so I got to say, I'm going to go back, but I'm going to adjust the way we did things next time, I think, just so that I could get on the floor more and see more people that I wanted to see and meet, because it was basically shoulder to shoulder, especially on the show floor. There was a ton of stuff going on around the show floor. So that was not the only thing that was there. I think a lot of people, that's kind of what they wanted to be a part of. But really, some of the best stuff that was out there at the NWTF was the surrounding things, the calling competitions, the Hall of Fame inductions, the demonstrations. They had everything from owl hooting national championships to, natural voice, to juniors and little bitty kids running calls better than you and I ever could, that kind of stuff. And, not to mention all the demonstrations. They had dog demonstrations. They had, UTV gym demonstrations. It was just a time where you could just immerse yourself in the outdoor space, especially turkey hunting. And, I'm sure you'll probably try to have our good friend Paul on. He works for the National Wild Turkey Federation. He was exhausted, but I could tell that he was just amped about how many people were there and how big of a showing it was. And I've seen that all across the industry, the same thing over and over and over since it's been over with. This thing was massive. So very encouraging for anybody who works in the outdoor industry, the outdoor space.
You know what I think about too? I think you have the same feeling about the wild turkey that I do. And Paul, I mean, my goodness, Paul is he lives and dies by these things. Isn't it funny how this bird can bring so many people together and get you so charged? We talk about, you think about elk and whitetail, but a bird, right, that pecks around and drives us mad in the spring. But I find that fascinating.
Yeah. And I mean, you could say that people who elk hunt are just as eaten up with elk hunting as turkey hunters are, duck hunters are, there's all kinds of degrees of enthusiasm surrounding a particular animal. But I got to say, there is no other show out there that rallies around one particular animal that draws a crowd like the wild turkey does. The whitetails are big, but there's not a show in the country that touches the WTF and the support that they get for the wild turkey.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you this much. I was watching from afar, and even though the timing of this stuff always interferes with my kids' wrestling season, I think next year, for at least that opening day, we're going to have to make a 24 hours down and back, because it's been a few years since I've been down there. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I wish someone would have told me this one before I went, but the earlier the better. So the earlier in the week you can go, better off you are, and the more you're going to get to see when you get closer to that weekend. Saturday is a sea of humanity, is the best way to put it. It's unreal. In fact, we tried to go in around, well, I had to be at a Hall of Fame induction at about 3 o'clock on Saturday, and we got there around 1 o'clock, and all three ramps coming off the highway were backed up for, quarter, half mile on all three ramps, just trying to get into the event facility. So it was pretty wild, just awe inspiring. Like, just, you just kind of, part of you wanted to be grumpy about how crowded it was, but the other part of you is like, my goodness, like, imagine what hunting would be if this kind of show of support happened for any other animal that's out there.
Sure.
I mean, the NWTF has done some incredible stuff for not just the wild turkey, but for their, for their members, for their contributors. Nobody else touches it. There's no other organization out there like it.
That's cool. Well, look, the reason I wanted to bring you on tonight was you shot me a text a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and you yourself were talking about you wanted to start exercising more consistently. And, we've been batting the ball back and forth on that one. But this will be, I think, the third year. Is it third year or fourth year that we're heading to Texas?
This will be our fourth year.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So, I think when you message, and again, I think about you personally, all the things that you do yourself. I mean, outdoor writer and photographer, dad, who helps homeschool kids, by the way. So it's not like you're just out, doing your stuff. Caregiver for family members, things of that nature. And what you said to me, because I know that you struggled with being consistent with your workouts over time, was you said, look, my son is wanting to get into this. So talk to me a little bit about what has happened with you over the last few years. I've watched you start and stop and start and stop. What's happened in your life that's that gets you going, but then also maybe puts the brakes on that too?
Yeah, I think for me, a large part of it is life in general. Like you mentioned, very busy. I know everybody's busy. So busy's not an excuse anymore. Everyone is crazy busy with their families, crazy busy with their, their professions, their hobbies, all that stuff. You and I, we don't live month to month. We live season to season. So there's fishing season and there's hunting season, and then you can break those all down into different segments, right? And then on the other hand, though, I think for me, a lot of it has been career. I freelanced for a long time, so work was, you took it as it came, and you bounced around, you traveled, you took the side gigs as you could. And then in the last year, I started full time with a marketing company in the outdoor industry that, offered me a full time position, and it's busy. It's just nonstop. But that said, what you do with your physical self, with your physical body, it comes out in what you do professionally as well. It comes out in the way you interact with people, customers, clients, your coworkers. It also comes out in the way you interact with your family. And I just turned 40 last November, and so things start to change when you hit that age. And I'm not old like Jeremy is, but I'm I'm getting older.
Right.
And so things start to change. I think for me, though, Jeremy, the short answer to your question is I don't like the trajectory. So I heard a story. There's actually a book. I should have grabbed it so you could see it, but there's a book out there called Organize Tomorrow Today. And as I was listening to that book, I have the hard copy on my shelf back there. You might be able to see it's the yellow one back there. But I think what hit me was there's a story in that book about a professional baseball player who bounced around in the minor leagues for years, team to team in the minors. He only spent a very short amount of time in the major leagues. And his biggest problem was that he never was able to kind of just, it wasn't a glass ceiling issue. It was a behavioral issue. It was his biggest issue was his physical capability. That's what was keeping him out of major leagues. So what he did is he consulted with the writer of this book, and this writer basically put him on a program and said, okay, listen, rather than go out and have 8 beers, 10 beers after your game, you're going to go out and you're going to have 3, right? Rather than go out and stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning with your teammates or your buddies or whatever, your girlfriend, you're going to go out and you're going to stay out till midnight, and you're going to make those incremental changes. And the next thing you know, it took him a year, but after that year, he never saw the minors again. He tried out and he stayed in the major leagues after that was put together. The same author was the guy, in fact, who was he was sort of the sports psychologist that St. Louis Cardinals hired back during their big World Series run. I forget the time period, the end of the La Russa era, right?
Okay.
So that's when players like Chris Carpenter and some others were on that team, and they basically said, "Listen, this is what we need." And anyone who is anyone in baseball, whether you're a fan or not, you saw this fundamental change in these guys, and all of a sudden they're back to the dynasty that they should be. And so for me, that's where this all kind of comes into play. Is I don't want to. I'm at a point in my life where the minor leagues is no longer enough, right? Playing minor league ball isn't okay for me anymore. And so that's why I text. It's really I heard a YouTuber a while back. His slogan was "Level up in real life."
Yeah.
And that's really kind of where I am in my journey, in my walk right now. It's not just about hunting. It goes above and beyond all of that. It's more about what is my 5-year trajectory. And to get back to that first story I told about that ball player, that was his motivation. He said, in 5 years, the way I see myself going, I don't like what I see. And so that's really my drive, my hook for getting in contact with you. And I think that's where it has to go. Is you have to come to a point where you say, you know what, if I keep doing what I'm doing right now consecutively over the next period of time, whatever it may be, do I like where I'm headed? And if the answer is yes, then keep doing that. If the answer is no, then something's got to change.
But what's beautiful, and just so everyone listening understand, what we're going to do with Jim is he and I are actually going to work out. So Jim's going to work out in his own gym space, but we're going to go through together because he and I and my son and Paul, we're heading back to Texas, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. It's hill country, it's not Montana, it's not Colorado, but it's hilly. It's got some terrain up there. But what you just described, honestly, is kind of a combination of what we call small change theory, where you're going to take small incremental changes, and that's what's going to ultimately make these big snowball type things. But, for years, Jim, I've maintained that motivation is I call it the great myth. It's the great lie, right? You're motivated today, but when it's 1 degree, like when I got to the gym this morning to train that client, motivation's not going to get you up when it's cold, but discipline will. It will win championships in that sense. You turn 40, we're gonna go hike these hills and chase Rios, but you had another reason, and that was your boy. Your boy wanted to start. So tell me, all these things are great, but what does that mean to you when Easton says, "Dad, I want to start doing this"? What does that change in your brain when he tells you something like that?
There's something primal about it, to tell you the truth. So, for a long time, I worked in men's ministry. Okay. And during that time period, I learned a lot about how men think and our spiritual conditions and the legacy that we want to leave, and how men operate uniquely from women and all those things. And so during that time, it was very formative for me. Now, my son just turned 13 back in December. And so his life is changing. He is in a transition from a boyhood into being a young man, and this is a critical time for him in his life. And so that was motivation for me. He loves to play sports. He loves to fish. He's going to be fishing competitively this spring. He loves to turkey hunt. He loves to do all those things. So the thing about all that is that I know what a lot of that takes. Do I know what it takes to be a college level athlete? No, I don't. Do I know what it takes to, play the sports he likes to play? A lot of them I don't, because I played football and that was about it, high school. And, but a lot of the principles remain the same. So it's my duty as his dad, knowing what I know about these activities, knowing what I know about what it takes to be an effective turkey hunter or an effective deer hunter or an athlete or even just living a healthy lifestyle, it is my responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility to do it. It's my responsibility to teach him, and to not just teach, but to demonstrate for him a physical model that that goes well past me. That he can model for himself, that he can pass on for himself. And that's really the drive for that. And that's one of the big reasons that, Jeremy, you and I worked together for a long time on different projects and different things. I trust what you do with Fit to Hunt. It's a humble and honest and genuine approach to fitness, to lifelong fitness, not flash in the pan Instagram fitness, but lifelong fitness that fits in a real person's life and makes them a better human being, really from the outside in. I know a lot of people, what they want to hear, we want to change from the inside out, but I think there's something to be said about changing also from the outside in, because, your hands may be calloused, but calloused hands many times lead to a soft and humble heart, because what the pain of gathering those calluses looks like, right? And I like that imagery. Now, I'm not against, being changed from the inside out. Sure. I believe that there are higher things than us that change us from the inside out. But this body that we have, we need to be changing from the outside in as well, and working along with that plan and that design. So, that's where it really touches on a deeper level, I think, especially for teaching and learning alongside my son, is, how can we do the best we can to align ourselves with that higher purpose for our lives, even beyond the things we enjoy doing.
And boy, I tell you, I've said this, those little eyes, they watch, right? And it's amazing, and good and bad. Like, if you think about how someone learns to do their finances or smoke cigarettes or whatnot, I mean, they see that, right? So if you can model those things, and honest to goodness, even show the struggles with it, it's okay. This stuff isn't about perfection. And I appreciate what you said as far as like the lifelong side of things, because I think that's the truth of the matter. We're not opposed to a fun challenge here and there, but I don't want people that follow us to think that it's always going to be an 8-week challenges or increments. We want to, again, I've long maintained we might ebb and flow, because if you're getting ready for an elk hunt, you're not going to be doing the same type training in January that you might be doing early August before you leave. You're going to ramp up to that. Or if you can keep yourself in a base layer of fitness and be able to ramp that up when you need to, it's handy.
Yeah, and I heard some great stuff the other day too that I really liked. I never really thought. For so long, I was trying to seek balance. Balance in life, balance in spirituality, balance in relationships, balance here, balance there. What if you think about a scale or balance, right? This is so cool. I love this. If you think about a balance, the only time you find balance is when you stand in the middle and you do nothing, right? If you were to put you on a balance, on a scale that had the things on each side that went up and down like this, if you were in the middle, if you were standing in the middle of that, perfectly balanced, you would be doing nothing at all. And so when it comes to fitness, when it comes to mental, spiritual, physical health, what I've learned, and this is, why I contacted you, Jeremy, is that there is no balance in it. You have to give a certain amount of attention and be out of balance, even if it's just for a short time, to pay attention to your health. You may have to be out of balance to pay attention to helping your kid with something. You may be out of balance to pay attention to focusing on your relationship with your spouse, but it's always this back and forth. You can almost picture yourself running back and forth from side to side on this scale. And I thought that was so telling of what life really is. We're not made to be able to be on both sides of the balance at the same time. That means that we're not operating the way we're designed to operate. Instead, we're to be paying attention to this over here and dealing with this, and then coming over here and dealing with this, even if it is for a season, and then returning to that other side. So that's really where I am with the physical side of this, with the health side of this, is it's time to kind of run over to the balance. Now that the career is kind of moving along as it is, it's time to run over and help the career by focusing on making me better to be able to focus on that career.
It's such a good point too, because when I'll use the word bandwidth, right? And it might be a little bit different way of describing it, but there's times that people will look at, and I'm not even going to talk about me. You talk about other people, like maybe even CEOs or folks that you think, hey man, they've made it. And you look at their routines and they're getting up at 5 a.m. and they might do a Bible study and they work out and they reading or whatnot, but they've got this routine that they do. And a lot of folks that I talk to are like, how do you do that stuff? And I'm like, honestly, when you go back to discipline, I call it the little brainwashing of you're either brainwashing or you're slowly rewiring, like that ball player in that book, right? And over the course of time, your bandwidth goes from here to there, from there to there. And when you say level up, I think the same thing. I've often called it, where's that next gear? Like there's times that I'm like, I got nothing left. And all of a sudden I feel like I shift and I go. So all of these analogies are super awesome, man. I love it. So, turkeys. I don't want to forget about turkeys. So
Yeah.
So tell me what your impression was. So first time we went to Texas, it was flat and sandy. And then the second time we went down there, it was like, this is different, right? So, physically, I don't think either one of us were dying out there, but talk through, this is the third year we're going to be in the hilly parts of things. I mean, what are you looking forward to in this program that you're getting ready to start that might help you do? Because you walked a lot last year. You hiked a lot around that ranch.
Yeah.
What are you thinking in terms of, if I could make this better, it would allow me to do this maybe more efficiently? What would you be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of need to describe what it was like a little bit. The first ranch we hunted on the southeast side of San Antonio was what you'd expect on being on the southeast side of San Antonio. A lot of sand, hot, oak flats, that you can see through for hundreds of yards, short oak trees. Birds don't have anywhere to really roost that's high up, so you could literally walk under a turkey in the morning before daylight and he could come to you from that exact spot. They hold tight and they're not afraid of anything. Those birds are not scared of anything. And I guess it's because everything wants to kill them. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird dynamic when it comes to turkey hunting. Then when we switched to the northwest side of San Antonio, it's a very different feel. It's kind of the middle range between what we saw on the southeast side and then what I've experienced before in far west Texas, which is, John Wayne country out around Midland, Odessa, very rocky, very hilly. It's not a matter of whether you can climb the hill. It's a matter of you having to walk miles to get around the hill because it's too steep, right? And birds all lived along creek bottoms, and if we had to go uphill, we jumped in the UTV and went. Right. And that's kind of just how you did it, because it was silly to try otherwise. This place that we hunted last year and the year before that I do just dearly love. I mean, it's as close to heaven as you can get in Texas, I think.
I agree.
But it's unbelievable. But it is basically, the property is kind of established around this one big mountain. And I did some writing on the place, and it escapes me now what the area is called. There's actually a geological name for the area. I think it's called the escarpment, is what it's called in that part of Texas. But it is very hilly. It's what you hear referred to when people say the hill country of Texas, right? So you hear someone, "Oh, I killed me in a hill country buck," right? Well, that's where we were, and a lot of private land, beautiful country. But last year, well, the year before last, we went down there. We had it too easy. We went down and we had birds down within the first hour, and we were well on our way to really a year we may never surpass. Right. Number of kills. Then last year we went and I called in one bird really, really early in the trip for Paul, and he killed it. And after that, we did not hear another gobble. for
Right.
3 days.
Right.
And on the second day, Paul and I actually turned on my DeerCast app, path tracker on my DeerCast app, and we did 11 miles that day and never heard a gobble, not
I know.
once.
I know.
And it was absolutely brutal. So, really, the for a spring turkey hunter, and I don't care where you hunt, I don't care if you're in Southeast Texas, I don't care if you're hunting in Montana, most of it really comes down to stamina, cardiac stamina, uh, and being able to, whether you're hunting at high elevation, even in Missouri, my gosh, there's places in Missouri that'll just absolutely kick your butt if you're
Yeah.
not careful,
Yeah.
And so for me, it's that aerobic conditioning. It's a big part. It's not really so much strength as it is aerobic conditioning and just keeping that muscle tone to a place where when opening day hits, you're ready rather than having to condition yourself from opening day throughout the season. So
Right.
that's a big part of it for me.
I think it makes a huge difference. And excuse me, I've watched, with my grandfather, he used to do that, right? And it was funny because he would complain the first 2, 3 days, and then about day 4 or 5, he's like, I feel pretty good. And I'm like, could we have gotten you doing this? Just walking, right? Just walking. So, um, I'm excited. I'm super excited. So, well, we got Texas coming up, quickly, and then I still got a kid in the youth ranks. You've got a couple kids in the youth ranks, and then Missouri. Are you planning anywhere else this year, or is it pretty much just Texas and Missouri at this point?
I was gonna head up to Nebraska, but the
Uh-huh.
tag sold out within like the first 24 hours,
Right.
and so that's out. Kicking around South Dakota. I still got to get my Merriam and my Osceola for
I
my
know.
slam. So
I know.
hopefully that'll happen here in the next couple of years. I don't know if they'll go down this year or not, but we're going to give it a shot here in the next year or so. So
Awesome.
pretty pumped about that. As far as hunting Missouri goes, just going to stick around home.
Mhm.
Like you said, I've got two that are wanting to youth hunt this year, and I'll try to scrape up a bird here and there as I can. But Texas is always a great way to kick it off
It's
for
fantastic,
us.
man. I honestly think the trip is, as long as the trip is down, that's part of that adventure, and that's a story for another time. But Jim, I'm looking forward to watching you not just work out with this program, but also watch how you work with Easton, and honestly your daughter too. I mean, there's no reason why this party can't grow. It's fun working out with your kids. So, um, how do we get a hold of you? How do we get your pictures and writing and stuff like that?
Yeah, you can look me up on it on social media, Instagram, Facebook. Uh, I don't really have any I would call professional pages. You can also go to my website, jimrichman.com. You can see a lot of my work there. Try to make sure I put all my published work there just for people to see. You can also learn a little bit more about my story, my mission, all that kind of stuff at my website. That's really the best place to go and learn more about what I do. I do have an email list there that you can sign up for. I'm not real good about keeping up with that, but I try, and I'm sure with something to actually write about, some emails about coming up here soon, I'll definitely be sending those out more frequently.
Yeah, you're a dang good turkey hunter. So if you're gonna follow someone and you want to see a bunch of turkey kills with some cool photography, I think your page is a good one. So
It's fun. That's one thing I remember I was telling Easton, uh, as far as when I got my start in turkey hunting, it was my grandfather that got me started. Uh, he was actually from Northeast Arkansas, so no turkeys down there.
right.
But when he moved up to this part of Missouri, it was kind of in that heyday of turkey hunting. And when I came along and I was old enough to start hunting, that's when you had the Mark Juries and guys that were really big into Ray Eye, Mark Jury, all those guys that were
Mm-hmm.
really big in the calling circuit. So those were the guys I grew up listening to and learning to call from hunting, like them. And I told my son, I said, you know what? I said, you missed out on some pretty cool stuff back then, buddy. I said, but what you got to experience this weekend at the NWTF was what my grandfather always hoped to see and hoped to experience, back when I was a kid. So it was kind of cool that he got to experience that, at this point in his life. So hopefully we'll see those days again. I think we will. I think the turkey numbers are going to improve a little bit here with the last couple springs being a little tamer, not so wet and gross. it's going to be good. I'm excited to see it both. My daughter is going back to the turkey woods again this year for the first time in several years.
Right.
So she's pretty pumped too.
Well, Jim, thanks so much for hopping on here. I cannot wait to hit the gym and kill some birds with you this spring. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, anytime, man. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Yep. See ya.
I always enjoy talking with Jim. He's a thinker, and some of the concepts that we discussed today, well, those are the things that weigh a lot of people down, both moms and dads and hunters. So I hope the information helped you with your discipline, with the idea of sticking to your workout program, because at the end of the day, consistency is king. Sure, it matters in terms of how often you exercise, intensity and volume, but that's a topic for another time. Today, if you're starting your journey, whether it be to lose weight or get ready for turkey season, understand one simple premise: discipline wins championships. Whatever you're going to start, focus on sticking to that. And I bet you're going to get some great results. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate the downloads, the listens, and the ability to be a small part of your fitness journey. Have a great day, and as always, stay fit to hunt.